a romantic getaway, a thrilling adventure, a simple drive home. For most couples, these are moments that build a lifetime of memories. But what happens when a single, monumentally stupid decision turns a cherished memory into a final one? From drunken skinny dipping in freezing lakes and taking selfies at the edge of deadly cliffs, to using cocaine in a scalding hot tub and getting into fatal arguments on train tracks. These are the stories of couples who died in the dumbest, most preventable ways imaginable. Case 1. The road rage flip-off. The 5 freeway in Southern California is a river of steel and glass, a place where patience wears thin and tempers can flare in an instant. For Zane Jones and his 42-year-old wife, Paula Nunez Linares, it became the scene of a tragedy born from a single, stupid gesture. On the night of July 11, 2023, as they were driving near Santa Clarita, they found themselves being aggressively tailgated by a dark-colored sedan. The driver was dangerously close, flashing their high beams, turning a routine drive into a high-stress confrontation. Zane, feeling threatened and angry, made a decision that would haunt him forever. Instead of slowing down, changing lanes, or simply ignoring the aggressor, he chose to engage. He extended his middle finger. It was a fleeting act of defiance, a moment of frustration that in a different world would have ended with nothing more than an angry honk, but not this time. The response from the other car was swift and deadly. A firearm was discharged, and a single bullet tore through the couple's vehicle, striking Paula. Panic set in as Zane realized what had happened. He pulled over to the shoulder and frantically called 911, but the damage was done. Paula was rushed to the hospital, but she succumbed to her injuries. The shooter vanished into the California night, never to be identified. Zane was left not only with the grief of losing his wife, but with the crushing weight of knowing his impulsive, pointless act of flipping someone off had directly led to her death. He didn't pull the trigger, but his decision to escalate a tense situation created the circumstances for a tragedy that could have easily been avoided. Case 2. The waterfall selfie. Bali, the island of the gods, is a paradise for tourists seeking breathtaking landscapes and the perfect Instagram photo. For 49-year-old Italian engineer Giancarlo Ziccari and his girlfriend, Ilaria Biaggi, the Gajamas waterfalls in the Batariti district offered just that. On August 4, 2024, they, like countless others, wanted to capture the beauty of the cascading water and the lush scenery. But their quest for the perfect shot ended in a fatal plunge. Ignoring potential safety warnings and the inherent dangers of a wet, slippery cliff edge, Giancarlo positioned himself for a selfie with Ilaria at the top of the falls. It was a moment of vanity, a desire to frame themselves against the stunning backdrop. As he adjusted his position, searching for the best angle, he lost his footing on the slick rock. In a split second, the idyllic scene turned to horror as he tumbled over the edge, falling 82 feet into the churning water below. Ilaria watched, helpless, as the man she was vacationing with disappeared. Rescue teams were called to the scene, but the fall was not survivable. Giancarlo's body was later recovered, his life cut short not by a natural disaster or a malicious act, but by the simple, stupid desire to take a picture in a dangerous place. He died for a selfie, a digital ghost in a feed of travel photos, leaving his girlfriend to live with the memory of his final, fatal mistake. Case 3. The train tracks. Rescue train tracks are a place of inherent danger, a place where a moment of inattention can be fatal. In Natick, Massachusetts, on the evening of May 13, 2024, a 65-year-old woman and her 59-year-old boyfriend learned this lesson in the most brutal way possible. For reasons that remain unclear, the woman was on the tracks near Washington Avenue. Witnesses saw her boyfriend rush to her side, not to call for help, but to physically try and pull her to safety. It was a noble but ultimately stupid act. As he struggled with her, an MBTA commuter rail train, traveling eastbound from Worcester to South Station, was bearing down on them. The screech of brakes and the blare of the horn were the last sounds they ever heard. The train, a multi-ton behemoth, was unable to stop in time. Both were struck and killed instantly. The preliminary investigation revealed they were in a dating relationship and had been seen in that area before, suggesting a familiarity with the dangerous location that may have bred a fatal sense of complacency. Instead of immediately calling 911 or the railway authorities, the boyfriend chose a hands-on approach that put him directly in harm's way. His attempt to be a hero ended with 2 bodies on the tracks, a testament to the fact that sometimes the most well-intentioned actions can be the most foolish. Case 4. The drunk skinny dipping. For Trevor Wieringi, 50, and Helen Smith, 49, a day of celebration turned into a cautionary tale of excess and stupidity. On October 15, 2020, the Rotorua, New Zealand couple embarked on an all-day drinking binge. They were so intoxicated that they were refused service at a pub, a clear sign that they had had more than enough. The night continued with a friend being arrested for driving under the influence, with a blood alcohol level 4 times the legal limit. Yet even this brush with the law wasn't enough to stop them. They continued drinking bourbon and smoking cannabis. In their heavily intoxicated state, they made a fatal decision: to go skinny dipping in the frigid waters of Lake Taupo. The water temperature was a bone-chilling 12 degrees, 54 degrees. The next morning, their naked bodies were found floating in the lake. The coroner's report was damning. Trevor's blood alcohol level was 307 points per 100 milliliters and Helen's was 284 ml, both more than 5 times the legal driving limit. The cause of death was a deadly combination of drowning and hypothermia. The coroner stated, "Swimming late in the night in 12 degrees Celsius water while heavily intoxicated is a dangerous mix. Tragically for both of them, the consequences were fatal." They had ignored every warning sign, every opportunity to stop, and paid the ultimate price for a night of reckless indulgence. Case 5. The scalding tub. For military police officer Jefferson Luis Sagaz and his partner of 20 years, nail salon owner Ana Carolina Silva, a day that began with a celebration of life ended in a grotesque, self-inflicted death. On August 11, 2025, after a day of drinking at their 4-year-old daughter's birthday party, the couple left their child with a relative and continued their night out. They ended up at the Dallas Motel in São José, Brazil, where they decided to mix alcohol with cocaine. In their drug-fueled state, they got into the motel room's electrically heated bathtub. What happened next is a horrifying example of how drugs and alcohol can obliterate common sense. With a space heater also blasting at a high temperature, the couple passed out in the tub as the water temperature climbed to a scalding 122 degrees, 50 degrees. They were literally boiled alive. The official cause of death was a grim cocktail of exogenous poisoning, favoring heat stroke, intense dehydration, thermal collapse, and organic failure. The police chief stated that the combination of the hot water, the room heater, and the substances they had ingested led to their sudden deaths. Their 20-year relationship ended in a motel bathtub, leaving their 4-year-old daughter an orphan, a tragic and entirely preventable outcome of a night of reckless choices. Case 6. The carbon monoxide camping. A camping trip to a favorite spot should be a time of peace and connection with nature. For Adele Tate, 47, and her partner Craig Will, 55, a former soldier, their trip to the shores of Loch Awe in Scotland became their final resting place. The couple went wild camping on May 30th, 2025, and made their last contact with family on May 31st. When they failed to return on their planned date of June 5th, and with Craig, a man of military discipline, uncharacteristically out of touch with his son, their family grew frantic. 7 days after they were last heard from, their bodies were discovered in their tent. The cause of death was not a wild animal or a violent act, but a silent, odorless killer: carbon monoxide. It is believed the couple used a heating device, likely a gas or propane heater, inside their enclosed tent to stay warm. Without a carbon monoxide detector and with no ventilation, the deadly gas filled their small space as they slept. A friend, in a heartbreaking tribute, said, "They passed peacefully in their sleep." Their desire for a little extra warmth on a camping trip, combined with a lack of basic safety precautions, led to a quiet and utterly stupid death. Their bodies lay undiscovered for a week, a somber end to what should have been a simple getaway. Case 7. The bungee jump failure. For Tiziana Acora, 26, and her boyfriend Alberto Galletti, 25, a member of Italy's elite parachute regiment, a tandem bungee jump was meant to be a thrilling experience. But their insistence on getting their adrenaline fix led to a fatal failure of equipment and trust. In May 1st, 2002, they arrived at the Pollino Jumping Center in Italy, only to find it had closed for the day. Instead of accepting this and coming back another time, they persuaded the owner, Lorenzo Illuminati, to reopen the facility just for them. It was Tiziana's first jump. As they leaped from the bridge, more than 200 feet in the air, the unthinkable happened. Both snap hooks on the bungee cord failed. The first gave way, followed by the safety hook, and the couple plunged to their deaths. The facility claimed the hooks were correctly closed and that the metal itself had given way, a freak accident. The center had operated for 6 years without incident, and 70 more jumps were made days later without issue. But the fact remains that the couple pressured a closed business to operate, potentially leading to a rushed setup or overlooked safety check. Alberto, a man trained in the high-stakes world of military parachuting, failed to ensure the equipment was sound. Their impatience and insistence on jumping that day, at that moment, cost them their lives. Case 8. The zipline failure. When you put your life in the hands of an adventure tourism company, you are placing a profound amount of trust in their expertise and equipment. For Dean Anson Sanderson and his wife, Sharon Anderson, that trust was tragically misplaced. On October 22, 2019, the Adelaide couple was on a zipline tour at the Jungle Surfing Canopy Tours in Brisbane, Australia. What should have been a fun, exhilarating ride through the forest canopy turned into a nightmare. Halfway across a 280-foot section of the zipline, the wire just gave way with a loud bang. The couple plummeted almost 80 feet into the forest below. Dean sustained fatal head and chest injuries, while Sharon was seriously injured but survived. The subsequent investigation revealed a shocking level of negligence on the part of the company. The technique used to secure the wire, a bulldog clip, was only 1/7 the required strength. It was a fatal flaw, impossible to detect through a simple visual inspection. The company had skimped on critical maintenance, and the Sandersons paid the price. While not a direct act of stupidity on their part, their decision to trust a company that cut corners on safety proved to be a fatal one. The Jungle Surfing Canopy Tours was permanently closed after the incident, a hollow victory in the face of a preventable death. From the highways of California to the waterfalls of Bali, from the freezing lakes of New Zealand to the hot tubs of Brazil, these stories show how quickly a moment of poor judgment can lead to a final, fatal outcome. Whether driven by anger, vanity, intoxication, or impatience, these couples made choices that sealed their fates. Their stories are a grim catalog of preventable deaths, a testament to the fact that sometimes the dumbest decisions have the most permanent consequences.